Shalom, and I'm gonna talk in English. אני אדבר באנגלית עכשיו. Last night here in Toronto, there was a debate regarding Israel's future. Whether it's a one-state solution, two-state solution, whether it's going to be a Palestinian state or only our Jewish state. 3,000 people attended the debate, which was in the Meridian Hall, downtown Toronto. Pro-Palestinian rioters were outside, and they went to the police and they filed a complaint, and they requested the arrest of former Prime Minister Ehud Oulmert and Vציפי Liebni, former foreign minister, for war crimes during the Lebanon War, the Second Lebanon War. One of the people that was there in duty, in charge of the security of the event, was our well-known friend and my friend, Mr. Aaron Hadida. Shalom, Aaron. How are you, my friend?
Shalom, Ronan. Thank you for having me. I'm good.
Aaron, I bet you are. I woke up this morning, I opened my cell phone, started scrolling on my feed, and I see Aaron Hadida. Aaron Hadida. A lot of people are angry at you. A lot of people think you're a hero and a superstar. Can you please tell me what happened last night and why is your name all over the headlines this morning?
Listen, for those who are angry at me, that's a badge of honor for me because it means I'm protecting our people. And that's my one and only job in life and my one and only mission, as you know very well. I was supposed to help with some aspect of security that I can't really discuss last night for the event. But when I got to the hall to do a sweep, I was talking to the managers and I was inquiring about what security measures and protocols would be in place because, as you mentioned, we were going to have a very large amount of people from our community there and from other communities. 3,000
people attended.
Yes. And so when I was told that it was venue supplied security, there was a lot of them, a lot of security personnel, but they weren't very prepared for the type of security that the Jewish community requires.
Aaron, so let's get to the point. What happened? Why is your name all over the news this morning? What happened?
Well, basically, I was vetting everybody that was coming through the door. I stayed at the front to vet every single person that was coming into the event to ensure that no troublemakers or potential hazards got into the event. I refused entry to, it must have been several dozen potential troublemakers, and there was one also who we had arrested for trying to disrupt the event, as well as there was a journalist, a Muslim radical, Hamas sympathizing journalist who bought a ticket, Canadian from Toronto. She bought a ticket. She wanted to get into the event, and she came in with a disguise, attempting to disguise herself.
Wow.
I spotted her, and subsequently we refused entry to her and voided her ticket and issued her a refund on her purchase.
Why? Because you recognized that individual and you thought she's going to create problems?
Well, in her own words, when she made a video, she posted a video while she was being refused entry. She called the event Ziopalooza. So, I mean, you can't complain about me not allowing you to come into an event when you're disparaging the whole community that is attending the event. So, as far as I'm concerned, you had no business being there. If she wanted to, as she said, document it, then she should have went through the proper channels, had a media pass, had it displayed in full view so that I could see exactly, who she is, what she is, that she had permission to be there. But unfortunately that didn't happen. So I had no choice but to ensure that she was not allowed into the event.
And it's not only her, you say you didn't allow dozens of people to go inside. They were all from the pro-Palestinian side, naturally.
Correct. So there was a lot of protesters last night, and so some of them had pre-planned to purchase tickets and get into the event as a participant, or they were going into the box office to buy tickets for the event for last night on the spot. And of course, I've been doing this a very long time. A lot of the agitators are very well known to me. I do a lot of research, and I keep myself up to date on who's who in this community and other communities.
Now, Aaron, I want to ask you, you were working last night. You didn't come as audience. Did you go inside? Did you listen to the debate, or you were all the time outside?
Well, upon entry, until everybody was safely inside, I was at the very front of the line. After everybody was in, I had the doors closed, and then I went inside to ensure the safety of the auditorium participants inside. Okay,
so you listened. You heard the whole debate. You were there. Okay,
now I heard some of it.
Most of it.
All of it. Yeah. I was posted at the entrance of the stage in case anybody tried to come and jump onto the stage. There was also a lot of amazing security for the VIPs that were hired to do that.
Now, you personally, you were guarding Mr. Aulmart personally, right? On his way to the venue? No, you weren't?
No. He had his own VIP protection.
From Israel.
Right. And they hired a crew from Toronto, an Israeli crew that did an incredible job.
Right.
And I was there to ensure that the venue would be safe for everybody entering, specifically the VIPs.
Okay, now can I ask you a question as Aaron, not as a professional security that was there, but as Aaron, as a Jew, as a Zionist. Can I ask you some questions as Aaron, not a professional? Okay, you heard what happened last night. There was a debate, Tzipi Livni, Aulmart, Ayelet Shaked, and Michael Oren. There were two sides, pro and con. And at the end of the event, there was a voting for the audience. People had to vote. And eventually 54%, which is the majority of the audience, voted in favor of a Palestinian state. What did that make you, Aaron, feel when you heard that? Were you surprised? Were you disappointed? Were you... maybe it didn't surprise you because you know the community? What did it make you feel and think?
First and foremost, I was disappointed.
Okay.
I almost fell off my chair when I heard the poll results. I got to sit down for a whole 3 minutes, and it just happened to be when they were announcing the poll results. And
how did the audience respond when they heard it? Were people shocked? Were people...
Yeah, people were genuinely shocked. You could hear people gasping like, oh my God. Honestly, listen, my opinion is very, very simple. I'm probably as Zionist as it gets. I'm as pro-Israel as you can possibly be. And as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing wrong with saying it's a Jewish state. Keep it a Jewish state. There's nothing wrong with saying that. I mean, I'm not suggesting we can't live alongside other people.
Of course, it's been going on for 76, 77 years already.
Absolutely. But nobody should be suggesting that Israel be anything but a Jewish state. It is the one and only place we have in the world. It is the one and only safe haven that we possess in this world. Why do we think in our minds that we should have to give any of it up? It makes no sense. We're not going into Afghanistan or Iraq or Syria or Sudan or anywhere else saying, listen, we need to get 20% of your land.
So Aaron, what is it that you and I understand naturally with no difficulty and 54% of the Canadian Jewish audience that was there last night doesn't?
Fear.
Fear?
When they are afraid of the opposition, they appease them. They give in to them. They try in their minds to convince themselves that if we just give them a state, they will leave us alone. If we just give them some land, they will leave us alone. We just gave them Gaza in 2005, and the furthest thing from leaving us alone was what happened all these years.
You know, the absurdity is that at the same time that Mr. Oulmert advocated for a Palestinian state on stage, the rioters outside went and filed a complaint to arrest him for war crimes. So this is, you know, it's like, how fool can someone be, in a way?
It's I think it goes deeper than that. It's just, I mean, how do you appease somebody that wants you eradicated? How do you quell or calm an entity down that does not want you to exist?
Exactly.
Land is not what they're looking for. And we can scream it from the rooftops. It's not about land. It's not about more anything. We give them 100% full rights, 170,000 of them prior to October 7th, the worst tragedy we've endured since the Holocaust, were allowed in and out of Israel to work every single day. 170,000.
So you're saying it's basically fear that drives those 54%? Some of them are your friends, my friends, people we all know around here. So it's fear?
Listen,
they're afraid?
I tell you, it's fear. It's fear because they don't know how to, you know, make this go away. And the other side is suggesting, look, if you just do this, you know, everything.
They leave us alone.
Right. We'll have peace. But we know that, and listen, we know this from past experiences over and over and over again. This is not something new to us. This is not like a fresh concept. Like, oh my God, guess what? If we do this, they're going to have peace with us. They're never going to have peace with us. They don't have peace with anybody.
With themselves, they don't have peace.
Right. And if they did, Jordan, Syria, Egypt, and a million other countries would say, you know what? We're taking them. We're going to give them this little state. Go get a state in Egypt.
You know what I find interesting, I don't know if you're aware, but Mr. Oulmert, the former prime minister, is in fact a convicted criminal. He was in jail, in prison for corruption. He got released, and since he was released, he's just bashing out Israel in every opportunity he has. But the interesting thing is, you know, a couple of years ago, there was a stand-up comedian, Israeli stand-up comedian, that wanted to come here and do a performance. He wasn't allowed in the country, in Canada, because he had like a small minor offense a few years ago in Israel. I don't know, when he was a teenager, he stole something from, you know, from a gas, I don't know, something really small. They wouldn't let him in. But a convicted criminal who sat in prison for corruption is allowed in. How do you explain that?
Listen, I honestly can't. I don't know. I'm not privy to that information. That would be something to discuss with, you know, Canadian Border Control. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm a very simple man. For me, there's two things that I need, and that's making sure Israel is safe and making sure our community is safe.
Of course.
Everything else in between, I leave to the experts.
So I want to ask you about the safety in our community. What is going on right now here in Canada? Let's talk a little bit about the radicalization of Islam in Toronto, in Canada. Is it getting worse? Is it getting better now that the war is over? How do you analyze the situation?
Well, you know, they were screaming for a ceasefire for how long? All we heard was ceasefire, ceasefire, right? We got a ceasefire, they're still screaming. So, you know, it's not about a ceasefire. It's about having Israel wiped off the map. And listen, even if that happened, God forbid, which would never happen, they still wouldn't be happy because that's not what they want. They're making money off of this. This is an income. When they say ceasefire now and they get a ceasefire, they still have to find something to be angry about and protest about. If they want Israel gone and Israel was gone, they'd still have to find something to be angry about. Their money is going to completely dry up if they got their wish. So it's absurd to even think that that's what they want. It's
and
not
how do you see the situation here with the Canadian Muslims, the Jewish community? How does it look right now?
Look, I used to say that, you know, it was radical Islam that was, you know, running the agenda, and it still is radical Islam. It's select groups that are, whether they're student groups or whether they're professional, NGOs, organizers, whatever, they are running the agenda. And I think the population of sympathizers has grown because, it's a multitude of reasons. But again, when you're afraid of something, sometimes it's better to join it than fight against it. And like I keep saying, after October 7th, you stopped seeing TikTok dances online. You stopped seeing new dances and new videos. All you saw was what we're seeing, right?
Yeah.
The free whatever movement. And it's people are becoming more and more indoctrinated. It is becoming worse. People are becoming, more radicalized because it's a country that allows it. It enables it. Canada doesn't put a stop to it. Canada doesn't put a brick wall in front of them when they try to do it. Canada appeases them. Canada tries to understand it and tries to sympathize with it, as opposed to, no, this is wrong. You can't call for the death of a whole nation and be allowed to continue on.
Do you think there's institutional racism or anti-Semitism in Canada?
Absolutely.
There is?
Absolutely.
Can you give me an example?
Professors, university professors,
Jewish professors,
level.
Jewish professors,
non-Jewish professors, Jewish teachers, the whole school board. The school boards need to be turned inside out, upside down, because it is a cesspool of anti-Semitism. And yes, I said it. All school boards, not some. And I hear from teachers every single day writing to me who are Jewish, who are saying they want to do this next Tuesday with the kids. How can I stop this? I tried to speak up once and I was threatened to be fired. What can I do? Can you shed light on this? I hear it every single day.
Fine, which is fine, but again, Mr. Aulmert, he uses every opportunity to go against Israel, and in Israel itself, nobody wants to. He's very controversial. Let's put it this way. He called an Israeli IDF soldier a murderer. Elor Azaria. He called him a murderer, and that's when people really lost it with him.
I can't understand that logic. My brain, I'm sorry, doesn't go there. I can't get there. Even if I try to fake it, I can't get there. I know what our soldiers are. I know the heroes they are. Absolutely. I know how they live. And God bless every single one of them.
Absolutely.
And my mind can't go to bashing Israel. There's no way you could ever convince me that Israel is whatever.
And especially, there's one thing to have criticism when you're inside Israel, in the country, but it's a totally different thing, going overseas to a different audience and making your laundry outside. There's a saying in Hebrew, you do your laundry outside. Aaron,
let me ask you something.
Go ahead.
Why is it that Israel is the only country where we have such a problem? I don't see people going from Canada to Belgium and bashing Carney and bashing Canada. I don't see people leaving New York and going to Brussels or Germany and bashing the United States.
Only in Israel.
Why is it Israel only?
I think it's intellectual freedom, maybe, to say whatever you want. Israel is a very democratic society, as you know. In opposed to what they say about us, it's maybe even ultra-democrat, that everyone can say whatever they want in the public sphere.
Look, I think we should take an example. A lot of people forget the fact that Israel is in the Middle East. So while we want to be ultra-democratic, we have to also govern ourselves according to the fact that we are in the Middle East. And in the Middle East understands one thing and one thing alone.
Strength and force. Yeah.
That's it.
Aaron, to close this chat, how dangerous is it today being a Jew or an Israeli in Canada As for now, as for 2025, is it becoming more dangerous, more scary? Is there more limits to how a Jew and an Israeli can live his life in Canada, other than it was in other times?
Look, when we're hearing stories of Israelis going to get their passports renewed, and when they tell them that they're from Israel, they don't want to put that on their passports. I mean, you want me to lie about where I'm from? It's an actual fact. It's a country. It exists. What do you want me to say? So when we're seeing stuff like that take place, I think we're in a very harsh time. When a liberal, disgustingly liberal government is pushing that type of agenda on its citizens, I think we're in a very harsh time, because they're sucking and blowing, because they're saying, don't do that. But if you're a terrorist, you can self-declare on an app and be an asylum seeker in the country in 5 minutes. So, I mean, yes, it's dangerous. It's becoming increasingly more scary. But at the end of the day, gone are the days where our Jewish community is not protected. We have to always protect our community. And law enforcement understands that now. Our people are starting to really understand that now. And everybody's starting to pitch in and help and want to help. And at the end of the day, it's all we have to do. We have to secure our community. We can deal with the politics after.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for your brave work with Magen Cherut and your guys, protecting every event that we have here, protecting our street. This is Avodat Kodesh, we say in Hebrew. This is it's a holy work, I guess.
Listen, to me, it's the only work. And I thank you for saying that. And to me, truly, it's an honor to work on behalf of our community and on behalf of Israel. That's always been my dream. And for me, there's nothing more honorable than being able to work for Israel. So I'm happy to do it. And I'm very grateful that I'm able to do it.
Aaron Hadida, toda rabba. Thank you very much for this interview.
Bavakasha.
Litro, thank you.
Always a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. See you later.